Well, there we go.
There we are.
Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Moen After Dark with Moen and my co-host Immaculate. We have got a lot of news to get to tonight.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on in the world of college football. Um, let's start off with some business first, and then I promise I won't mention it for the next hour. I won't over-solicitate. If you want to support us, you can go down and click the little cash symbol in the chat window. Give us a super chat, a super sticker. All super chats get read. You can become a member, get early access to products like Wild Ute University, or you can gift memberships. So let's jump right in and say hello to some people here. We got a busy news. This is going to be a big show tonight, guys. We got a lot to discuss. We're going to run down Greg Sankey talking to John Canzano. We're going to talk about Ross Dellinger's article that was released this afternoon. And then we're going to try and finish it off if we have time with a little discussion on EA College Football 25. Let's see, Buckshot Kid. Oh, hey, guys, he was first here again. I think he just waits for the notification. And
it's a competition now.
Yeah. Dan Miter is here. Can't believe your Mark is going to let the Big Ten and SEC dictate the review of CFP without a voice. No one knows these conferences are going forward. That's, well, very true. Hey, Timothy Green, our coal mining buddies here. Looks like another great show for College Football Nation. Yes, we'll do our best.
We appreciate it. Take his advice and do the likes and subscribes. And
that's right. Jose says Mafia, Georgia Tech drank, Mafia drank.
Boy.
The Walking Geek is here as well. The Big 12 does have a voice at the table. It's just not as loud. You don't grow the sport by excluding a ton of fans. I tend to agree with him. The Big Lubbock says Georgia Tech to the Big 12.
Trying to take them early, I see.
Yeah. I'm just trying to say hi to people here. David Hackett. Hello, David Hackett. Hi, Nathan Campbell. Let's see who else we have here. Jim F's in the house. Baseball season underway in the SEC. Not here in Ohio, that's for sure. It's colder than a witch's tit this morning. Jan Hulk's all the way here from Slovenia. Good morning, Jan. Well, you dropped in just to say Georgia Tech. Okay. Mr. Monkey Says is in. All right. Two Mast is here. Kat Dean's here. Don in Kansas is here. Mooncat is here. Friends call me Sean, formerly Caden's dad. That's if anybody has any questions in chat, that is Caden's dad. Preseason champions, OHIO. Georgia Tech sitting in the corner waiting patiently. All right, so we're gonna get all the Georgia Techs out of the way with one drink.
Right. Efficient, I like it.
They had me smashed on Friday pretty much.
Yeah,
I went pretty much straight to bed. I grabbed a bottle of water and went to bed.
Good job, chat. Way to go. All right, we got a lot tonight, man. It's a packed show, and we got to get everyone's thoughts on it. It's going to be a lot.
Take that comment. We're going to cover John Canzano's interview of Greg Sankey first. I forgot to put the link in here. Just search John Canzano Sankey. It'll take you to John Canzano's Bald-Faced Truth. Great interview. I'm just going to give you some snippets out of it that I thought were the most pertinent. But I would recommend going there and reading the full interview. He does talk about quite a few things within college football. In regards to Washington State President Kirk Schultz proposing that the Pac-12 be treated as a Power 5 member in the college football playoff. He says we spent 4 years trying to deal with a format expansion, one that the SEC did not request, did not advocate to pursue, but worked as a good partner and collaborator to find a new way. Over those 4 years, everything in college sports has been touched by change, whether it was COVID, conference membership, NIL activity, litigation, NCAA changes, Charlie Baker's project. I could go on and on. The reality is that we have to have a postseason system that adapts. I am not at all a fan of continuing requests from different corners for special accommodations. Let me repeat that line. I am not at all a fan of continuing requests from different corners for special accommodation.
I wonder
We have
who
asked for special accommodation to this point. I'll let you jump in here, Mac.
Yep,
Just
yep,
hold
yep,
on.
yep.
Let me finish. We'll see. It's at the board level. It's not to the commissioners. We've stated previously of you as a group, it wasn't unanimous, but at some point, we're going to have to adapt for the next 2 years. Then we're going to have to rethink our approach to how governance is conducted and how decisions are made if it is to work.
That's the bomb right there.
Yeah, that's basically telling Kirk Schultz, sit on it and spin.
And it's not just him though. Like it's kind of using him as an example, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like it's also to everyone else to like take note. It doesn't feel like it's super personal. It's just basically I'm saying, look, feel how you like about all of this. It's not working, and we need a model that works because and he's not wrong. There are some serious challenges coming. And quite frankly, all these schools need to, at some point, get on the same page. Like, I think they're, however you think that comes about, to each their own opinion. I have mine. Moen has his. But somehow they need to get to that point because there are much bigger challenges coming. And that last line right there, all the rest of this led up to that. Then we're going to have to rethink our approaches to how governance, we've been saying that word a lot. I've been on Twitter X talking about that. Governance is conducted and how decisions are made. They need a new model. I've suggested the autonomous conferences are going to get empowered. Maybe some other approach is taken. And also in terms of that, the CFP, it might be reaching the end of its usefulness. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. This is cut to the quick right here. He is not mixing words. He is not being political. It is what it is. Let's get some comments in here. Obviously, this is your guys' show. Hit us up with comments. We'll throw them up here. Questions. We'll do all that good stuff that we normally do on Moen After Dark. Cleveland Rocks is in the house. Good to see you, Cleveland Rocks. Jan Hulk, Moen will need a new bottle soon. Moen's got a new bottle waiting because Moen doesn't fool around. Monavision from Tony Washington. Did you used to perform as Ian Gillian for Deep Purple? Smoke on the water, brother.
Nice.
Stephen Veit, Sankey the Snake speaks again. The verbal venom from the Southeast. And then I like this. Tell us how you really feel, Greg.
He does not mix words very much. That is true.
No. There is nothing political about this. There's nothing this is basically cut to the quick. No double speak. We have the power. We have the power. We have the power. So,
and it's to Canzano, who is a West Coast reporter going historically back. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he knows who's probably going to be reading this.
Yeah. This is a message job, as I used to say. A message job. Here he goes on forming an advisory group that includes the SEC and Big Ten. Big problems are not solved in big rooms filled with people. You have to narrow your focus a bit. There may be raised eyebrows. We certainly called in advance to communicate to colleagues what was going to be announced rather than to do it in the shadows and have somebody report on it. You might as well put things out there. It's not expansive. It's focused on dealing with some of the immediate issues. It helps to motivate ourselves, in my opinion, and if it helps to motivate other people to seek solutions and collaborate more effectively, so be it. I do think both leagues feel the responsibility of leadership at this key time, and that really informed the announcement of the advisory group. You'll note we didn't call it an alliance. We didn't have Zoom calls. We didn't create logos. We simply want the opportunity for a group of their leaders and a group of our leaders to talk about some of the elements of a path forward. What do you think about that, Immaculate?
Well, the last piece all led up to the final line. In this piece, it all starts with the first line, which I found to be quite interesting here. But the big problems are not solved in big rooms filled with people. I know people have their feelings about, these two meeting and no one else being there. But that statement, once again, is not wrong. And you could look at our political system. You could look at a lot of things and realize you bring in so many different interests and different groups and different people with different positions. It's very hard to come up with any type of consensus. So if they start to figure this out, like between these two, and then maybe between them and the Big 12, and then them, and they might be able to tackle this better if they start to take this in small chunks. So I know how everyone's feeling about that, and I get it. But I think that this is pretty straightforward. I don't think he's pulling double speak. I think they're at the point now where they need to start to find solutions, and this is how they think they get there.
Yeah, I think the thing that fascinates me most is the line. It helps to motivate ourselves, in my opinion. And if it helps to motivate other people to seek solutions and collaborate more effectively, so be it. That is him telling people to fall in line behind the SEC and Big Ten. There's no doubt in my mind. He's saying to the Big 12 and the ACC, okay, if we have to wait this out for 2 years, you better come around to our way of thinking on how this thing's going to run. If not, you will be left behind.
Yeah, and it could also mean, if you guys start to have your own talks, and if you come to us and have talks, but it's just a kind of the time for just sitting back in that room of everyone and disagreeing on stuff and getting nowhere. Those times are over. Either this is the direction we're starting to go in, and yeah, you're right. Like, start to go in a similar direction, because so far we're going nowhere, and that's just not going to cut it for us. So, is it a bit of strong arming? Yeah, but it might be necessary.
And I like how he took a shot at the Big Ten with the alliance line at the end there.
A little bit. Yeah, it's like, we're starting to talk together, but we're not exactly best friends
partners
yet.
But yeah, we're partners, but we ain't best friends.
Yeah.
Let's get some comments in here. Mr. Monkey says the SEC hasn't asked for special accommodations only because they don't have to ask. That's
Not
true.
Wrong. Not wrong.
SEC has been a proponent of best four. He got it. About to get special accommodation for having bigger conference. Not only that, but remember, he was in the room negotiating the 12-team playoff the whole while knowing he had Texas and Oklahoma in his back pocket.
Yeah, it's true.
Razorbuck, I don't think I've seen you here before. Welcome. LOL, I interpret that as we don't want any input from other conferences. We will let you know what we decide. I think it was more, we'll take your input, but at the end of the day, yeah, we're gonna lead the charge here. But at least he's willing to put that out there that they'll actually listen, even if it's patronizing.
Yeah.
Daniel Gygax, is Sankey also sending a shot at the Big 12 too? He could have it where there isn't automatic bid situation. He could. Again, I think that's one of the things that they're telling people to fall in line for. And my personal belief is, hey, we're going to take away automatic bids if you don't fall in line and do what we say.
And I would say to that, they really can't take away automatic bids, but they can just take their ball and go home. And like I've said, that's why I kind of think conference playoffs, once again, saying the same thing. But that's something that I think is the fallback when this doesn't work out, which eventually I think it's just no agreements can be made. There are other things they can agree on, but I just don't see the Big 12 now as being a place that is trying to pick a fight. I don't see that as their leadership way now. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's been on phone calls with these guys saying, yeah, it's cool. We understand, and we'll work with you guys. Just kind of keep us informed on, behind the scenes of what's going on, and you guys lead the way. We're good with that. Like, I think that's the position of the Big 12 now, is you just follow in the path that they're burning.
Yeah, I don't have the exact quote, but Yormark said something similar over the weekend, that they were aware of. They don't have a voice in the room, but they've got an ear in the room, basically.
Yeah. I don't see them as just. I don't really see this as being directed at the Big 12 as much as maybe some other parties.
Yeah,
and maybe not just the Pac-12, but I think the ACC. I think a lot of it's directed at the ACC, personally.
Very well could be. Kenneth, boy, I'm not even going to try and butcher your name, brother. Y'all have a good show. I heard about your show through FSU War Chant on 3. Well, thanks for joining us, Kenneth. Welcome to
Nice. Appreciate it.
to Moen After Dark and the College Football Mafia. Steven, he may not call it an alliance, but that's what it is in action. The big and the SEC are taking charge. They want it their way. This is a very Burger King move.
Yeah, and if they could do it in a way in which others are happy with too, I'm sure they're open to that. It's not like it's just a complete 100% their way. But at some point in time, if there is no other way, like if the whole group can't come up with something, they do have to do it their way. That's their responsibility to their own schools, to alumni of those schools, is inevitably to find a solution for their schools. So if the big group can't figure out something, then they need to make a smaller group. And hopefully everyone is kind of now sobering up and saying, okay, let's figure something out.
All right. Patrick, for those that don't get into the bigger the SEC, their futures look bleak. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. You're not going to alienate an entire fan base to eliminate the Big 12 from playoff action, but you are going to maybe twist the ear a little bit to get them to come away to your line of thinking. And I do think the auto bids are going to be put on the line to do that.
Yeah. Wanted to comment on that one real quick. Because
yeah.
Picked it up, but just there's a lot of people that have this thought and this mentality, and it's understandable. But that's why we're trying to say, look, it doesn't necessarily mean what you think it might mean. It's not them. If they wanted to just break apart, they would just break apart. I don't think they want to. That's what I think this is. This is kind of a wake-up call that could become the future if everyone else just doesn't realize that there are bigger problems to solve. So I don't think the futures look bleak. It's just, there will be differences in the conferences, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Jan Hulk likes that Sankey told it like it is. He did not hold anything back in this interview. Again, I would recommend seeking out and reading the whole article from John Canzano. It was a great read.
Yeah.
I liked this one. Yormark should have a power meeting with Kliavkoff and not invite Patiti and Sankey. So there.
I think he did. It's the one where they fired him.
Yeah, he can't invite Jim Phillips to things because he's waiting for that to fall apart so he can pounce on it. So
Yormark was probably there waving to him like when he said goodbye. I mean,
yeah,
kind of cost him his job.
Conundrum with the great quote from part 2. You can have my answer now if you like. My offer is this: nothing, not even the fee for the gaming license, which I would appreciate if you put up personally. Part 2, my favorite movie. Grand Dan, awaiting your collective wisdom. Is Canzano the press secretary for Schultz? Also, are the SEC and Big keeping their friends close and their enemies closer? Well, we're getting a lot of Godfather references today. Well, we talked about this before the show. You think there was a very specific reason he spoke to Canzano?
100%. I think Canzano, I think a lot of guys reach out to Sankey to talk, and he probably turns down a whole bunch of opportunities. I think in this case, he maybe saw that and realized we could use this, and probably reached out to Canzano and was like, yeah, you want to do a big interview? Because that's unusual for Sankey with anybody, that deep of an interview, unless you're going on like ESPN or something. So, yeah, it was, in this case, I think he wanted that message to go in a certain direction, and he knew using Canzano would get it there.
Joaquin Morales apologizes for being late. That's okay, Joaquin, as long as you made it.
Yep, glad you're here.
Daniel Gygax, also, will the SEC/Big keep a higher share of the CFP revenue, saying we have the most schools in the playoffs, we should get a higher percentage off the top? I think that is going to be inevitable.
Yeah, I'd like to say no, but I think that's probably what they're really playing for. People are thinking that they're leaving. That generally means they're playing a hard line in order to get something in the middle. So, yeah, they're probably going to want some extra pay.
I think they will as well, and they're going to also get that extra pay from having more teams in. But I do think they're going to take a little bit more of the pie than they're going to allow the Big 12 to have. Which brings us to this. If the Big and SEC separated, the Big 12 and others should separate in basketball. Again, I don't know that that's going to happen.
There's actually talk in this interview, we haven't quite gotten to it yet, where he even talks about the tournament. So, yeah, we don't think that there's any type of separation. I mean, they're talking about expanding the basketball tournament. So, yeah, but he's not wrong. Like, I don't think they want to be separate from everyone else in basketball.
I don't either. And I think you've mentioned it before on Twitter. The NIL situation in college basketball is going to impact college basketball much more than it does college football, simply because you're going to have these kids that would be playing in the G League sticking around for NIL money, and maybe the one and done system being over with, except for the best of the very best.
The NBA commissioner, during that, what you saw, the NBA commissioner said that they're probably dropping the G League now because of the situation in college basketball with NIL. They think guys are going to be staying in longer. And so it's basically like, yeah, the market sees it. These guys are going to stay in college longer, probably get paid more than they were in the G League, have a better experience than being in the G League. Let's just be honest. A little better coaching. It's just better overall. And then the NBA doesn't have to draft them early before actually knowing their true potential and capability at the NBA level. So I think it's a win for everyone. I think the NBA is going to be very happy to drop the G League.
Got a super chat here from Joe 2095. I don't think I've seen you around here either, Joe.
Appreciate it, Joe.
Welcome to the stream. Who has more power, Sankey or Petiti?
50-50.
That's what I was going to say. It's 50-50 until Florida State drops. If the Big Ten picks up Florida State and maybe a travel partner, whether that's Clemson or Miami, that power could shift.
Even if like they get paid a little bit more in the SEC after that, I would still say the power is equal. Like power meaning not like money, but just power and influence, like in these rooms where they're in there and other people are in there. The SEC with ESPN, the Big Ten with Fox. I think it's pretty hard for it to not be a 50-50, but there might be a little bit of a shift in the future. We'll see.
If Notre Dame joins, it's definitely a shift. That's a massive shift. Thank you so much for the super chat, Joe. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
I know you probably didn't like the answer to that question, but I tend to agree with Immaculate. It's 50-50. Razorbuck, don't you think going forward with the financial gap between the Big and the SEC that the ACC and 12 will have trouble maintaining teams that can compete?
No.
I don't think that's going to happen because of NIL.
Yeah, because, plus it's opportunities. At some point in time, if you're going to look over at those schools and say, I don't know if I'm going to get a whole lot of playing time, you're going to go to maybe a Big 12 school. And here's the thing. There's no sure thing in terms of each athlete. You could be a 5-star and end up being a dud. You could be a 3-star and have growth spurt or just work harder, particular, have a great relationship with the coach. There's a lot of little deals in this that can throw off the final results. You could have some Big 12 teams rise up through just the sheer competition that every week having, tough games and not having, kind of coasting games where these teams could maybe get better than people think. So we'll see. But until I see that they can't compete, I'm going to assume that there's going to be some Big 12 teams that do compete.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're going to have transfer portal, NIL is going to really change the game, as it were. Jamie Thornton, hello, everyone. Hello, Miss Razorback.
Hey,
good to have you here. C. John made it in. Good to see you, C. John. Kenneth Evans with a great point. The Big 12 and ACC shouldn't negotiate with the SEC and Big 10 about unequal CFP revenue shares. The Big 10 and SEC can go pound sand.
That's a fair point to have going into those negotiations. That's a negotiation. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't get much at all. I don't know. It just it's going to be interesting to see play out.
Right. The only way to really successfully negotiate is to negotiate from a point of power. I don't think that separating the basketball in the Big 12 is going to be enough power to prevent the Big 10 and SEC from taking more in the college football playoffs. Now, they might agree to split and say, hey, we might change the revenue model with the basketball tournament. Like Immaculate said, that's discussed a little later in the article. I didn't cut that snippet out, but that is discussed a little later in the article if you want to read it. Let's go ahead and move on to the last piece of this that I cut. You can read it. On the reports of a 6-year, $7.8 billion extension between ESPN and the college football playoff. Let's be clear, that's one of those sources say articles. I have a great relationship with ESPN. Their interest is important, but the entirety of the college football playoff still has work to do. On whether CFP games will be streamed and behind a paywall like the NFL playoffs, that's part of the work still to be done. Embedded in that is certainly with all the new players in the environment, that new media opportunity has been part of the consideration.
Yeah, that was our first. I mean, we were already looking at some of the words in the articles saying, hey guys, look, this isn't as it appears. This isn't as it's being presented. Then we got this, and this was, the first statement of, yeah, don't take that too seriously. It's not really like that. And we get even more into that later with Dellinger's article, which just note, Dellinger and Sankey have been pretty close in the past. So when you see him saying this and then Dellinger starting to dig around with basically FOIA requests, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting that they do bring up streaming behind paywalls, because that was one of my first things, which I hate this idea. It's behind a paywall. Well, if you're watching it on ESPN, it's behind a paywall as well, guys. They're both paywalls. ESPN isn't over the air. But it shows you that they're going to be looking in other places. So that number, which we'll get into Ross Dellinger's article here really quickly. I just wanted to bring this last part up before as a lead in. From studio. I don't need that anymore. Now we can get into Ross Dellinger's article. I'm just going to touch on this. I will go ahead and copy and paste this in stream for y'all to read. If you want to go read the full article, go ahead and pasted that in stream. Title of it is College Football Playoff has not yet agreed to new TV contract, according to Commissioner on the CFP management team. Get this to, there we go. The College Football Playoff has not agreed to a new television contract, according to at least one member of the CFP Management Committee. If you remember last week, this was leaked out that there was a done deal. It was already negotiated. They just needed to get over this 5-7 hump, and they were going to sign this exclusive 6-year extension with ESPN for the totality of the College Football Playoff. In a memo sent to the league administrators, MAC Commissioner John Steinbrecher described reports of the CFP agreeing to or having concluded an extension of the media rights deal with ESPN as incorrect. In fact, Steinbrecher, the longest-serving member of the 11-person management committee who often chairs the committee's meetings, told administrators that commissioners and their corresponding presidents on the CF Board of Managers have not reviewed a draft of a potential new deal. So basically, he's saying this draft that's been circulated out there is not accurate at all. Not accurate at all.
Nope.
And this is going out to members of the MAC conference. This is not a quote to the media. This is to the members of the MAC. Ross Dellinger and Yahoo Sports obtained a copy of the email through an open records request. He goes on to quote, several news outlets are reporting that a new 6-year television deal has been concluded for the college football playoff. Steinbrecher wrote in an email dated February 13th, be advised these reports are incorrect. Neither the management committee, commissioners, nor the board of managers, presidents, have reviewed a draft agreement, nor has any vote been taken. Why don't you break down the difference between the commissioners and presidents? I saw you doing it a little earlier on Twitter, Immaculate.
Oh, and CFP, yeah. I was real active on Twitter today. This article, I put out a few things on Twitter. I definitely invite you guys to have a look, interested in that, and respond. And I'll certainly respond to you there as well. But with the commissioners, what they have is called the managerial committee. Now that is the guys that kind of run and manage and put together the CFP, and they do that based upon the policies that are voted upon and agreed to by the board of directors, which are the 10 presidents. There are 10 presidents on it of the 10 conferences. So there's one president per conference, plus the chancellor of Notre Dame. The managers committee is the 10 commissioners of the conferences and the athletic director of Notre Dame. So the board has to vote on things to make it an actual policy, to make it a rule, to make it happen. The commissioners basically run the business of this, and they'll come up with plans, ways to do things, and then they'll bring that to the board as a vote. Now, the interesting thing that's happening is generally the commissioners meet, put together something for presentation to the board, and then the next day the board meets. And as he said in the article, if you actually go in the article, that is their protocol. This time, that's going the opposite direction. We're seeing the presidents are meeting on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, the commissioners' managerial committee is meeting. So it starts to have this feeling that maybe there is an expected solution to come out of this presidential vote. I know Schultz was signaling last week, we saw where he's saying they were okay with the 5-7 and they are good with agreeing and voting to it. So we might actually have some movement that happens here on Tuesday. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. We'll see though. I don't want to get people's hopes up
because it's not a guarantee.
We've been through this before. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit. They talk a little bit about the protocol, which you just discussed here. While the CFP continues to work towards an extension with the ESPN, no deal can formally be agreed to or signed because of a litany of unresolved matters related to the long-term structure of the playoff, multiple commissioners tell Yahoo Sports. 6 weeks ago, ESPN came out with the story that they're looking to maintain their exclusive rights holder. The story came out that they were negotiating an extension through 2031, worth about $1.3 billion annually. Earlier this week, The Athletic, reporting the same terms as ESPN's original report, published a story that that CFP and ESPN had essentially agreed to the deal, noting the unfinished issues lingering around the future structure of the playoff. So basically, they're making he's making a really good point here that this wasn't ESPN, reporting. This was The Athletic coming out and saying it was a done deal, not ESPN.
Correct. And that's, yep.
Yeah. I was going to say, we talked to Bob Thompson about this last Wednesday, and I made a very good point. I said, I asked him a good question. I said, who leaked this? Because somebody had to leak it for a reason. I thought at the time it was the Big Ten and the SEC. I have since changed my mind on who leaked this.
Have you? Who do you think?
Yes. I think this was Schultz. Somebody possibly within the Pac-2 leaked this.
Okay. I think it's possible. I still think I'm kind of leaning towards the Big Ten.
Okay.
And them specifically, and due to a certain connection with the Athletic. And I don't want to go into too deeply. I don't want to say names. Because we don't know for sure. It's just, there are some dots that could very easily be connected. That's all. But yeah, it could be Schultz though.
Yeah, I think with the number being that low, he wants to put that out there to weaken the Big Ten and the SEC in this squabble and try to strengthen their position. So
I mean, that was 6 weeks ago. ESPN reported that they put it in. So this has been going on, and they're, I'm guessing some folks are like, this is not working. We're not agreeing on this. So they're putting it out there. Like, this is what's been going on, because it wasn't like it was just a week ago or something. I mean, it was 6 weeks ago. It feels like they're trying to prod some other parties maybe to get more involved. I don't know.
All good questions. This college football offseason threatens to be the most impactful in the industry's history. You ain't kidding. While the NCAA and Power Leagues explore a new athlete compensation model, postseason events such as the CFP and NCAA tournament are likely in for dramatic changes as part of a complete audit and reset of college sports. As Big 12 commissioner, I would read this article as well. I'm going to copy this link and let you guys see that. That was the article I had mentioned earlier about your Mark's comments. All right, put this. The television contract with ESPN binds the 10 FBS leagues together for the postseason football championship. There is no binding contract beyond the final year of the deal in 2025. A precarious position made more unsteady given recent comments from the SEC and Big Ten letters. In an interview with Yahoo Sports earlier this month, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey and Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti expressed doubts for the first time publicly in their commitment to the future of the CFP if leaders can't get right a litany of issues. Their comments came on the heels of an announcement February 2nd that the leagues were forming a joint advisory board to study the future of college athletics.
Yep, that's that's their people, that's their ADs, that's their presidents, just coming together in a smaller room and saying, we need to figure this out now. And once again, remember, House versus NCAA is looming in the future. It's not just about all this; it's about coming together and starting to think the same on things, so that way they can confront the NCAA as one group, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. Let's get to some comments before I continue on
Sure
with
thing.
this. I want to make sure everybody's getting their comments in here. Moen, will the Big 12 end up on Amazon Prime Video because of the sell? I think he's talking about the third tier rights. I don't believe that's the case.
Yeah, he was talking about them getting into Bally's, the network, the Diamond Sports Group network. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think that that's really part of it. I don't think that that would require an actual deal between Amazon and Diamond Group. Not just being an owner gets you that.
Kenneth Evans, there could be no playoff or BCS or anything. That's true.
Yeah.
We don't know what 2025 and beyond holds.
Could be conference playoffs that lead to something else.
I don't see the Big Ten and SEC having more than 4 playoff max teams per season. Those leagues are going to beat each other up. The problem is when these leagues get bigger, there are ways that you can schedule quality wins and quality losses. So you might see more than 4 Big Ten or 4 SEC teams get in there. For example, this year, Oregon and Ohio State play each other second week of October, I believe. There's a possibility that Oregon could get in there, even with a loss to Ohio State if Ohio State wins out. That's a quality loss. So, I mean, it's just, we don't know yet. I see where you're coming from, but it's not like the old days where every year this team has to play this team. We're getting to numbers where you can't play every team in your conference during the year, especially with the lack of divisions now.
Yeah, I think that's why another reason why they did that is just for a little more control. But you've got to do that control kind of in advance. So it's not really control, it's prediction. It can work in your favor. It could go in the opposite direction, but it's not a sure thing. I tend to agree, though. Out of 12 teams, I don't see them probably having more than 4 each. That's 2/3 of the whole damn thing. So, yeah, I'd say probably 3 to 4 is probably where they'll be at.
The Walking Geek says it would be financial suicide for the Big 12 to become adversarial. Won't happen. I tend to agree. I think they've either got to get along or somebody's got to get along. Just my opinion.
It just doesn't make much sense for them to. Like, you're not going to get anywhere doing that. I mean, they can hold them to task. They can say, "Oh, we're not quite good going that far." Big 12 can hold things up because there is a big bomb at the end of the road that, once they get there, it's going off. So you can hold it up a little bit, but that also blows you up. So it's just it's a little bit of a game of chicken. But yeah, they're not going to be adversarial.
Right on. We've got 106 people watching. If I could get you all to do me a favor, go ahead and give this a big thumbs up on YouTube. If you're watching on demand tomorrow or later tonight, please go ahead and leave a comment. We do monitor the comment section and we try to respond to as many people as we can there. Helps us out tremendously in the YouTube algorithm, and it doesn't cost you anything. Terry Kane, NIL will help keep Big 12 and ACC alive, but the unequal revenue will show up in facility upgrades and quality of coaching hires. Big 10 and SEC will be able to afford both. I agree with you, but I would also point out that boosters can also upgrade facilities. That's how facilities used to be upgraded. Most of the upgrades at Ohio State came from boosters. I think the Woody Hayes Athletic Center was donated, so those can come from boosters as well. The problem you're having now is you're going to have your boosters having to choose NIL or facility upgrades.
Which also kind of looks like the athletic departments are trying to bring some of that NIL money back to them for just the reason that you said. I mean, they want players to get their NIL, but they're also seeing it taken away from their own capabilities. So, they're going to push back a little bit. We'll see how that goes.
Matt Commissioner John Steinbrecher actually spoke. Actually, he sent this in an email very quietly due to a Freedom of Information Act request, probably with Ohio University, actually, because of the sunshine laws here in Ohio. Yahoo Sports was able to get a hold of this. So he spoke quietly. Somebody just was able to tap the line.
And they probably didn't mind giving that. They probably didn't mind giving that up either, because that happened pretty quickly.
Yeah,
they can stonewall a little bit to get you information if they want. So I think they wanted that to go out.
Rock and Rant is no Sankey fan. Let's be real. It just means more to Sankey, and that means more cash. Any way he can screw fans, he will. I
mean, I get it from an ACC man perspective how I feel that way. He fights hard for the SEC, and at times, that definitely feels and looks like it might screw others, but that's his job.
RFR Mac, good to see you. Boy, I don't know what all this means. It means hold on to your butts. That's what it means. Yeah. It'll be a bumpy ride. Jose, TCU is a great example. They didn't need an overture of media money to have success. I agree with you. TCU did pretty well. I mean, they fell off this year, but that was a Cinderella run they had. Stephen Veit, I'm just interested in the timing of this article. Why was this email leaked? It wasn't leaked. Freedom of Information request. So,
the email definitely was not leaked. The information to the Athletic earlier was. So maybe that's kind of what he's thinking. But the email was found by actually good journalism investigation.
Yeah.
I even gave Bellinger kudos in a reply to his little post on X that it was good work.
Jamie Thornton, interesting year there with 2031, because I don't think Notre Dame is going anywhere until their contract expires with NBC in 2029. I'm interested to see if they will be pressured into the big by 31. I think they're going to get pressured in somewhere.
Yeah, they could probably go to the Big Ten earlier than that because of the NBC deal with the Big Ten. In fact, it would probably even give NBC some leverage to get some special rights to Notre Dame content, like maybe first pick of Notre Dame content if they want it. Who knows? But the other decision, that might have to wait till 29.
The Walking Heap, don't sleep on the CFP going to 16. That's true. We don't know yet.
Good. I tend to think some of the things they're testing with the 12 are very important to them, and those go away with 16. So I'm not a fan of it going to 16, or I don't see it going to 16. But at some point, it's more money.
Tony Lawson, Ohio State should have fired their basketball coach weeks ago. They should have fired him last season, as far as I'm concerned. Great win today. You're correct. Congratulations to the Lady Buckeyes hockey team as well. Go Bucks. Ryan Willie, SEC and Big will go back to divisions within 5 years. I think once they get big enough, they will have to.
Oh yeah, they're going to go back. I don't think at all that this was a permanent decision. I think what they want is the governing ability to no longer be tied down to just having 2 divisions. I think they want like 4 divisions or 5 divisions or maybe even 6 within a conference.
And Patrick, the Big 12 doesn't have teams like Michigan or Alabama to carry them.
So far, we have no idea how this is going to go. They have not even begun a season yet with their new additions from the West, and we don't know what they're going to get from the East. So let's not judge this thing until we actually start to see it play out, see how it goes. We're still very early in that game. So
yeah, Utah's done pretty well for itself over the last 8 years.
They've been winning the pack. So
yeah, so I wouldn't count out all the schools by that yet. Let's get back to this article real quick. We'll finish this up. I think there's only CFP commissioners meet again Wednesday in Dallas to further examine some of the unresolved pressing issues, most notably a new revenue distribution model, voting structure, and possibly even format. That's where the 16 would come in right there, the format. With the expansion of some of college football's biggest brands, the SEC and Big Ten are expected to seek a bigger cut of the revenue pie, as well as governance structure that grants them more autonomy. The format, too, is still somewhat unresolved. At least a portion of that could change this week. On Tuesday, the CFP Board of Managers is expected to vote on a move from a 6+6 format to a 5+7 format in the 12-team expanded playoff format for the next 2 years, a decision that was delayed last month because of a pushback from the Pac-12, Pac-2. The decision needs unanimity from the 11-member Board of Managers, of which the Pac-2 remains a full voting member. Washington State President Kirk Schultz acknowledged the conference's representative on the board delayed the 5-7 while WSU and Oregon State officials organized a proposal that he expects to present to the board members Tuesday. The Pac-2 is seeking to be considered a power league with Power 5 voting rights and revenue distribution for years beyond 2025. I think I'm going to end it right there. There wasn't anything.
I could point out one thing before you just scooted past it, actually.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, I've been harping a lot on something. If you could scroll up just a little bit more. Right there. You even said it. A governance structure that grants them more autonomy. We've been talking the autonomous conference system. People may not realize, but that's a governing system. It's a voting board within the NCAA that does not yet have a full widespread governance capability for Division I or the future division, whatever it is. But it's what they want. And that's what they want. They don't want to be apart from the NCAA. They want autonomy within it for their governance. So that was a little bit of a peek for you guys right there.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing what the format that Schultz is going to put forth on Tuesday, because they're not going to give them autonomy and Power 5 status beyond 2025. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to allow them to bring up 6 to 8 to 10 members into their conference and divide those pay-ups any further.
Yeah, they don't want all those new votes in the autonomous board either. I mean, they if they want to be part of that, they do have to find a way either into the Big 12 or ACC. That's it has become the A4 in all intents and purposes, and they may not be getting that governance until they get this figured out, if that makes sense. Like they may not want to have the fight once the Pac-2 actually has that full governance, like halting power. So yeah, I think there's a lot more writing on this than just CFP stuff.
Yeah, I still think their best bet is for the ACC to implode and need to backfill. It would be two of the most likely candidates. Sure. So, if anything, they should be pushing for Florida State to get out of the conference. So, I'm going to go ahead and it just has the actual, I'll actually scroll down here and let you guys see. This is the actual email from John Steinbrecher to his colleagues in the MAC. Greetings from the Mid-American Conference. Several news outlets are reporting that a new 6-year television deal has been concluded for the CFP. Be advised, these reports are incorrect. Neither the management committee nor the board of managers have reviewed a draft agreement, nor has any vote been taken. We will let you know. We'll let you know and we'll provide a briefing when we are in position to do so. So there you go.
There's a lot that it still has to go through, and they're not going to put it up unless there's agreement on it. So it's been going on for 6 weeks. So you can be sure there's not agreement on that plan on that board.
Let's see here. John Dry, good to see you, John. Bama won't anymore.
Won't win without anymore.
Won't
Saban,
anymore
maybe?
without Saban, and Bama possibly won't be making bowl games for a while. Yeah, you know what? Well,
Ooh,
you can
that's
go back
pretty.
a couple shows and see my opinion on Ryan Grubb and what they pulled off there.
I think they're going to be kind of mid, but I do think that they'll at least have 6 to 7 wins this season. So I don't think them losing out on bowl games. It's just going to be a matter of how good of a bowl.
ACC POV, watch SEC games go behind a paywall. Well, they're already behind a paywall. They're on ESPN and the SEC network. That's a paywall. Beyond the ESPN Fox thing. Kenneth Evans is promoting what you've promoted. They can have separate conference championships, and I will watch the Big 12 and ACC.
Yeah, I think that while Kenneth or someone might not be interested in all the conferences all regular season, once we get into the postseason, if all these conferences are having their own conference playoff, it's not like there's a whole lot of options on at the time. People are going to watch. There's going to be a lot of cross viewership. So, in my opinion, there's a lot of money in adding more postseason games, and there's no other plan that I've seen that adds more postseason games than a playoff champion or a playoff tournament, across the board for every conference. So we'll see.
John Dry wants to know who watches the other 10 schools that suck in the Big Ten and SEC. As an Iowa fan, would you like to answer that?
I mean, I know a lot of people have their issues with some of the teams in the Big Ten, and that's fine. But these schools by themselves have very large graduate numbers. So those people alone watch. There's a lot of fans in the Midwest of the Big Ten that watch a lot of different schools. And the numbers show it. I mean, even schools that aren't at the top there, you compare their numbers to, say, the mid to lowers in like the ACC or elsewhere, and it's really not close. So, I mean, they watch them on the Big Ten Network, watch them on Peacock. So the viewership's there. Just some people don't, and so they think no one else is, but they are.
Yeah, I have to admit I love to watch Big Ten football, even if they're bad teams. I've been a big fan of watching Maryland this past season. I thought they were going to do well. It was good to see them pick up and have the success they had this season. And then, again, you got to remember those 10 schools that suck, they have to play the 10 schools that are, the 8 schools that are good. That's still going to happen.
And the Big Ten, and when they sign these deals with these networks, they put it in writing that they have to show every single school a certain number of times. I think it's either 1 or 2. So, they wouldn't be doing that if nobody was watching those games. They are getting them viewed and looked at. So it is what it is.
Mr. Monkey says going to 16 in a CFP makes more sense than going to more than 68 in the college basketball tournament.
I mean, I think the college basketball tournament is insanely large as it is. So, yeah, it's not going to take a whole lot for you to compare something to say that this makes more sense than the college basketball tournament when you're talking to, at least to me, and it sounds like with Moen as well. So I don't disagree. I don't think that they're looking to go to 16 with it.
Joe, 2095, will there be more SEC and big expansion in 2031 when contracts come up? Texas A&M.
I think that they're going to expand maybe to 20, and then they have things they have to figure out. They have to get governance issues figured out, and I think that there's going to be some moves that are made after that's done, and then I think we'll see another round of expansion. So will that be before 2031? I'd say there's a good chance of it. Everything seems to be going faster now than we like to admit. So, yeah, good chance.
Yeah, the Big 10 will become the Big 24. Rock and Rant. Let me try this again. My comment about Sankey and Cash has nothing to do with an ACC point of view. I could care less about that. He will grab dollars that screw SEC fans too. Some games behind paywalls, yes. But again, SEC Network, ESPN, ESPN2, those games are already behind paywalls. Beyond ESPN base package. Still, ESPNU, ESPN2, SEC Network.
I'll leave
I
that
don't
to
think they have
SEC
any.
fans to figure out. I mean, I get the point. I do. I mean, as a Big Ten folks, we have the Big Ten Network. They're getting money out of us for that. I mean, that's kind of, it is what it is. But it helps them out. So we'll see how it goes.
Let's see here. Lots of people watch Wisconsin and Iowa, and they stink. I wonder why Tony lost.
Good old Gopher fans.
I think Wisconsin's my pick this year to stun some people.
Not a lot of people watch the Gophers, and they actually did okay at times. But that's just because you guys like hockey more than football up there.
Yeah. Again, congratulations to the Ohio State women's hockey team this weekend.
Wow.
Our women's hockey team is tough as nails.
I didn't even know they had women's hockey, so that's pretty cool.
It's I think it's club level.
Oh, okay.
He was last year when Texas was undefeated. John Dry, I'm just going to watch Big 12 games and not the SEC and Big 10. Most people I know say the same thing. I'm going to watch all college football games. I love all college football.
Yeah.
I watch MAC, so,
I don't know why people do this whole, I'm not going to watch this, I'm not going to watch that. That's fine. Maybe you won't, but at some point in time, you might be watching some games and they suck, and you're like, I'll turn this on. There's a ton of cross viewership from the different conferences, and everyone's saying they're not doing it. I just kind of feels like tribalism a little bit.
Yeah, it's tribalism. I if you want to watch an exciting football game, tune into Maction on a Wednesday night. Put $100 on a game you don't have the $100, but put it on a game
You're gonna watch
and pick one. Be the most exciting football game you've ever watched. I promise you.
Just don't pick Eastern Michigan.
No, never pick Eastern Michigan.
Don't pick them.
It would be foolish for Cleveland Rocks. It would be foolish and in the long run, suicide for the Big and SEC to alienate the Big 12. Some of the largest student populations are in the 12. They will make more money if they all work together. I agree.
In the end, yeah, absolutely. I do think that's where this goes. It's people may not realize, but sometimes a strong voice gets everyone to come together, and then everyone's kumbaya. It's just someone had to raise their voice in the room.
Paul Clifton, the other 98% of America will be watching P2.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
there's a little back and forth going on in chat.
Yeah, I see this tribalism that's going on.
It's all good. It's fine. It's part of sports.
Tony Lawson, who still hasn't congratulated the Lady Buckeyes. I hate to agree with Immaculate, but Bama is not going to win 9 to 10. But Bama is now going to win 9 to 10 games instead of 11 or 12. I think 8 games is going to be their limit this year.
Yeah, I mean, they got the studs, but we even saw this year at times. I mean, they had studs, and they just kind of seemed disjointed. That's what I think is going to happen big time this year. I'm going 8 or less. 8 to 7, maybe.
Mr. Monkey says, if Leipold stays at Kansas for 10 years, what's the over-under on times KU plays in the CFP? 3. Let's say 3.
That's a pretty fair number, yeah.
Yeah. I like Leopold. I like what they're doing with the stadium. I was having this discussion with you this weekend. I think Kansas is in the maneuvers to become a Big Ten school. Stadium renovations, the academic research going up. I think Florida State's in the same vein. Pat Crow agrees with me. He watches MAC and Mountain West. I've never watched a lot of Mountain West because it's on FS2, I think. Maybe it's on FS1.
Mountain West is on CBS Sports Network. It's an old channel
they
that they
have-
bought.
But they have a 10 p.m. game that's on Fox Sports.
Like how many times a year though?
I think
Every
every
year?
week. It's
Every
like
week?
it's like Pack After Dark, but it's Mountain West After Dark.
Oh, okay. Is that new? I've never watched that.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. I used to watch, like I said, this past year I watched Pack After Dark a lot.
By that time of night, I'm kind of footballed
Yeah.
out.
Me too. But you kind of pass out and then you wake up and it's 34-31 in the second quarter. Does Leopold get Kansas to the playoffs first, or does Dion get Colorado to the playoffs first? Leopold. I think Kansas is my dark horse to make the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, if Dion had shown that he'd be good at recruiting from high school, but right now it's not looking good. I don't know if he can actually get to the playoffs with just transfers. So I definitely think Leopold.
Just got on after a long drive. Moen reminded me why you think UConn and Syracuse. Oh, Moen, remind me why you think UConn and Syracuse could go to the Big 12 basketball. Basketball, Northeast Corridor, you want the marketplace. That gets you New York. You have a lot of people that live in Connecticut that work in New York City. Syracuse, you have a lot of Syracuse alumni matriculate to New York City. Got a $5 super chat from Tony, or from Ryan Willie, telling Tony Wisconsin has the axe. Just saying.
And I was getting back to Pig.
Winner.
And I was getting back at Pig, right?
Oh, yeah. Floyd's coming home.
Tony finally recognized the women's hockey team. Ohio State women's hockey is the two-time Division I NCAA national champions. They play in the WCHA because only 4 big schools have varsity hockey. Great program. Thank
We'll
you.
trust a gopher when it comes to hockey talk.
I could tell you as an Arkansas alumni fan in the SEC smack, we give any SEC school hell that loses to a Big Ten team, and it's great.
Well, you guys probably talk a lot of smack because the Big Ten does kind of get you guys in the bowl games. Maybe
I'm
not.
trying to think of the last time Arkansas beat anybody. What was the Wildcat? Who was that guy? Wildcat running back. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist. I think it was the last time they were good. Houston Nutt was the coach.
Oh God, you talking about Kansas State Wildcats?
No. The Wildcat offense.
Oh,
They had a running back at Arkansas that was really good. Jamie will remind me who he was.
Yeah, she'll
He
get
played for the Dallas Cowboys. I think Texas, J Baller 54. Good to see you, J Baller. I think Texas and Oklahoma are in for a real wake-up call, playing football and basketball. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Texas is pretty good at basketball too. Oklahoma has been as well.
Paul Clifton says tribalism, like it, with a bunch of
Yeah.
emotes. That
There's
I think
nothing wrong with tribalism. I mean, it's just pointing out when that like affects someone's thinking and everything kind of is in. It's like having rose-hued glasses and seeing everything in a certain way. But there's nothing wrong with tribalism. That sure is a hell of a lot of fun to take part in that with college football.
Yep. Hey guys, we're an hour in, so now I can do it again. If you want to support us, hit the little $sign at the bottom. You can gift a membership, become a member, get access to Wild Ute University, or leave us a super chat or a super thanks. We answer all super chats. Thank you, and I won't mention it again unless this show goes beyond 2 hours. Let's go ahead and get through some of these because I want to let you move on to the EA Sports College Football 25. It's on Fox Sports 2. That's the Mountain West game. It's on FS2.
Oh, actually, I don't even know if I have that on my package. I probably do it somewhere.
Doesn't it help the Big 12 to already be in with ESPN and Fox?
100%. I mean, it goes to show that duo, they have plans for the Big 12. I don't think that they come together for that deal and set up the way they do if they didn't have plans for them. Especially now that we know that those two have been talking for a while for being business partners on a new app. So I think that's part of a bigger plan.
I love this comment. The late Mac game is often the only one.
That Maction.
And then I thought that's how it got its name.
Yeah,
Maction
there
is
it
all
is.
about taking the over and the under. You're
Yep.
absolutely right. It'll kill you every time. They will screw your over under up by a point if they have to. They'll miss an extra point and have it returned for 2 just to screw up the over under. Moen and Immaculate, who will Big 12 get out east? I've already said this. I think it'll be Pitt, Louisville, Syracuse, and UConn.
There might be some movement with Clemson with the SEC as of late, but I've been saying I think that there's a good chance of them maybe still going to the Big 12. I think we're starting to look at maybe North Carolina State and Virginia Tech are becoming larger runs on that. Louisville is for sure. Georgia Tech maybe not. Some folks are saying maybe Miami. So there's some different options there, but I definitely think the Big 12 will get 4 out of there. I'm kind of losing steam with Pitt. I think that if there's these other options out there, Pitt's starting to not look as good.
All right. You want to talk a little bit about EA Sports College Football 25 and the news we heard this week?
Well, some of you may care about this, some of you may not. Certainly understandable. We are generally a realignment and real sports show. But some of you may have been following in the news. There has been talk about the new EA Sports College Football 25 game coming out. And this is something that's kind of near and dear, playing that way back in the day in 14 and such when that came out. But we kind of wanted to do something with that here because inside this game, there is a whole lot of realignment. There's a lot of talk about this in sports media. A lot of different sports media folks who are going to be making their own leagues. And I'm kind of looking to do the same with our community to find out who wants to be involved with this. But also, even for those who do not play, we have ideas for what we can do as a community during shows and things of that nature for this. We'll leave it at that. But I very much want to talk to you guys and see what our community thinks about this. If there's interest, if you guys have been following, we just got a trailer, as he's saying, that says that the game is going to be coming out this summer. Personally, I'm of the opinion that we're looking at mid-July. And they're saying full release in May, I think. So, but I think even before then, we're going to see some things. And so I'm just kind of curious and interested to see what folks think about this. Are you guys interested in this game at all? How many of you are players? How many of you would like maybe the idea of being on like a realignment council show where the players in our league might be a little bit more akin to like gladiators, and all of us out here are going to be the folks in the Coliseum deciding this or deciding this. So just kind of let us know what you think if you'd like to have some fun with that, and if you're a player, if you want to be a viewer. But I'm just kind of seeing some folks starting to talk about that now. So we got Coy. Oh, Coy's into it. Coy, are you just curious? Are you an Xbox or are you a PlayStation player? If I don't know, did you ever play this game before, Moen?
I played it. I've got NCAA 14, I believe.
Okay, that was the last one, which is another reason why this is going so big and so viral right now is because it's going to be actually over 10 years, which they haven't had this. So with players getting their NIL in there, where there's going to be NIL in this game now, I don't know how it's going to be represented. There's going to be transfer portals, and this is all new stuff from previously. We know that the schools were all reached out to by EA, and some of them were taking like thousands of pictures of their stadiums and of some of their events and their particulars that they're known for, so that this could all be put in the game. So it should be a pretty exciting game for folks to play. Most of all, when I'm looking at, we saw some releases. They are going to have live services. They are going to have multiplayer elements. And they did say that they're looking to have content in there that caters to communities. What this means, we don't know. We're watching with you guys. But thinking about maybe adding that into our lineup of what we think is relevant. I think that this game could cause a lot more people to become interested in realignment. So I'm just kind of curious to see your questions on there. Maybe if you haven't heard about it, I'm seeing a lot of PS5 players. That's worrying to me. I do have an Xbox myself. Are you? And this is going to take the new, the latest generation. Like you can't play it on previous ones if anyone has that. Are you set up with that, Moen?
I'm on Xbox Series X.
There we go. All right, Moen's in, and Koi is saying that this game will be cross-platform. I certainly hope so.
Fantastic.
I think that it has to be. I think they would be doing themselves a serious disservice if it's not. It would be dividing so many people that could come together, like in large leagues and in presentations and live streaming, which is something we want to do. And just to put it out there, if this all goes well and according to kind of the loose plans, we might be needing some of you to get involved as well. If you're, and not just for playing purposes, but also maybe some reporting, some talking, and some running of the league as well. But
Right.
Caleb, Xbox. So any questions on that, feel free, but also, we can kind of go into whatever you want. I just wanted to get that out to the folks that we are looking to run maybe something of a league, whether that's going to be full on playing or maybe simulated and we just do the business side of it ourselves so that we have more rotations of realignment. We are a realignment show, so that's going to be a big deal of it, but we'll get all into those details as more comes out.
Yeah, and I just want to take this moment to remind you this is Moen After Dark. This is y'all's show, so go ahead and hit us with those comments, questions, and in chat.
Yeah.
We're going to start
Anything at all.
scrolling through them and doing rapid stuff now. We've talked about EA CFB 25. I love the name. Just can't get enough letters in there. Can't wait to build my Ohio State dynasty. Jamie Thornton wants to let us know Arkansas was good way after Darren McFadden. That was the running back I was thinking of.
Okay.
Run DMC is what they called him. Did you forget the Bobby Petrino years? I didn't forget the Bobby Petrino years. I believe Ohio State beat Arkansas one of those Bobby Petrino years when Ryan Mallett was the quarterback. Arkansas had multiple 10-game win seasons in the early 2010s. I agree, and I think, again, if I'm not mistaken, Ohio State beat them one year. McFadden and Jones, Felix Jones was the other RB I was thinking of. Fantastic running back. He played at Dallas for a long time. Moen, I do have concern that KU has 0 actual home games this year because of construction. Hope it doesn't hurt them. I think it'll help them. I think you're going to get a lot more fans in Kansas City Arrowhead than you do in Manhattan, Kansas.
Don't they have to find another place to play as well besides Arrowhead?
Yeah, there's one other place. Maybe Mr. Monkey Says knows what the other place is, but I do know they're playing some games in Arrowhead.
Yeah.
And I think that'll benefit them. Ryan Willie reminding Tony that Minnesota will not leave Camp Randall with the axe. And then Jamie wants to argue with you a little bit. I think Immaculate is a little fuzzy from the Georgia Tech drinking game on the SEC Big Ten bowl game record. Just looked it up. The SEC was 66-36 against the Big Ten all time in bowl games.
Sure, that's great. But that means that's 36 times that you SEC folks had to bang on each other like you're saying. So, that was the point, really.
And I will argue that some of those games were not competitive matchups. Sometimes you get a 7-3 team in the Big Ten that goes to a bowl game. In reality, that's a 5-7 team.
Yeah,
they just played in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, you couldn't always really watch all that, but it was fun to watch the ones that did go our way because it always seemed to make the SEC folks mad. Yeah. Things are going to be changing in the future, though, Jamie. You watch. That's going to be much more equal.
Cleveland Rocks, rumor North Carolina State and Virginia Tech contacted the Big 12 this week, fearing they will be left out. I don't believe that. I know who started that rumor. I don't believe it. NC State isn't moving anywhere right now. They know that they've got Carolina by the short and curlies. They're going to get paid. So I don't think that they're afraid of getting left out. I think Virginia Tech feels the same way. What do you think?
I mean, do I think that contacts have been made like in a very loose, unofficial? Maybe, possibly. I mean, I would almost think that it would be dereliction of duty if they didn't know if there's some type of backup. But is there any type of major contacts, real serious discussions going on at this time? I would say probably not, unless this whole situation behind the scenes is all being worked out, and then that's where it's being worked out. They're going, but yeah, I'm not putting a whole lot into that just yet. We'll see.
Edward Wayner, good to see you, Edward. Howdy, y'all, today from East Texas and Nacogdoches. I'm going to get this right. Nacogdoches, Texas, home of Stephen F. Austin University Lumberjacks, Axum. They play in the FCS United Athletic Conference. Oliver Luck is their commissioner. And you will probably be able to play them in EA CFB 2-5.
I don't know. We may not have FCS conferences there, but there are some FCS teams that have put out announcements that they're going to be in the game. So previous versions, FCS teams could be scheduled against, but you couldn't actually play them. And you couldn't set up whole schedules of them. So we'll see. Maybe they're expanding this one. That would be pretty special.
I like this, Jamie Thornton. Not to mention Immaculate that Tennessee's win over Iowa to push the SEC Bowl record versus the Big to 68-36 all time. Listen, if you got to bring up the fact that you beat Brian Ferentz's offense,
it's true.
That's not exactly a brag. It was the worst offense in the NCAA last year, guys.
Literally. I thought that they would actually hold Tennessee's offense better than they did. So kudos on that. But in the end, it's a bowl game. They were going through the throes at that point in time that, losing their coach, which for whatever reason, that all the players seem to love Brian Ferentz. Like, they considerably do. And many of them don't understand why he's being let go, which is probably being a little too close to the problem. But I just, trust me, watching that game, and I watched other games all year long, that team, they weren't there. But kudos to Tennessee, and that new quarterback they have is going to be pretty serious.
Caleb Ramirez.
Yes.
Good to see you, Caleb. Talked to him on Twitter quite a bit. Will EA Sports give money to athletes? Yes, they will.
They are
going to get money for their name, image, and likeness in EA Sports College Football 2-5.
The talk is about every athlete that opts in will get $500. It's not a huge payout, but I would think most players would probably want to be in it for free. Like, they want to see themselves, they want their name,
they
want
to
their
play
likeness,
as themselves.
They want to know what their rating's going to be. So there's a lot of attention on this. The $500 is like a nice little bonus, and for a lot of these guys, that's a nice chunk of change to have on campus to spend on whatever you want to spend it on.
Well, we got a.
There it is.
Getting some comments coming in here. Gifted membership from Ryan Willie. Thank you, Ryan. And Irvin Williams, make sure you thank Ryan as well for gifting that membership to you. You can go ahead and watch the Wild Ute University short on the University of North Carolina. I know Ute is putting together the numbers for the Miami to the Big Ten fit right now. So thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate it. I will go ahead and give you the.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook.
All right. Let me scroll back up here.
Got you a few.
Do you think it hurts Louisville that their basketball program is a steaming pile of crap right now? I personally don't. They truly have fallen off. I don't think it'll affect things long term.
No, they're still funded at the athletic department level. It's not like it's happening because of a loss of funding. It's just some decisions and things haven't gone well. They still have great stadium. They have all the assets to be successful. So, no, I don't think that really hurts them.
Yeah, I think they're a perfect travel partner for Cincinnati and West Virginia, and Iowa State to an extent. So I think it makes sense for Louisville. I think Louisville's the no pun intended, Louisville's the biggest slam dunk to the Big 12. I think if Louisville had their choice, they'd rather be in the Big 12 right now. Jose wants to call dibs on USC for college football 25.
That's the thing too. We will have to discuss at some point in time. We may we may have all our players start low. You got to work your way up into those positions via realignment, which could be done by viewership, or by in the game you can actually you're like the coach, so you can get a contract to go somewhere. But I don't know if anyone's going to be starting with the super powerhouses. We'll see. We'll see what everyone wants to do.
Let's see here. Tony Washington, Wisconsin and Washington need a trophy, and Ohio State and Oregon need a trophy, in my opinion. I've already called this one out. The trophy for Wisconsin and Washington is called the Bow Down Jump Around. For Ohio State and Oregon, it's called the Big O.
Yeah, I guess that works. We'll give you a big old Cheerio for your trophy.
That's right, a Big O. And that's the team that gets to use the Big O for the year. Oh, see, look at this. Mike Smith, the Big O trophy. Same idea I had. For Buckshot Kid, good to see you again, Buckshot Kid. Madden 24 is cross-platform. I'm sure College Football 25 will be the same.
Yeah, that's good then. I mean, it's not, that means they have the capability to do it because it's the same engine. It's not going to be the same game, and it's going to be two different teams working it. But that means that the engine has that capability, so that's good news.
Don in Kansas, will there be sign stealing capability in the new game? Asking for Michigan. I actually posted a funny meme into our chat today.
It was funny.
It shows
That's exactly what I was thinking.
the old GoldenEye technique of the kid underneath the cardboard and somebody looking over the cardboard, so they can't see what you're playing.
The only sign stealing in this game is if you got two people playing co-op in the same room together. But that was a funny meme you had.
You sure a lot of games aren't cross-platform in terms of playing? Most major releases anymore are cross-platform. Most. Not all, but most.
Yeah, it even behooves those two makers to not cooperate. I mean, you'd be cutting up so many fan bases and with the streamers and the whole communities and things that are going on these days. It's just, it makes sense.
Mr. Monkey says, has a question. I have a PlayStation user ID. How does an Xbox user find me to play me?
I don't know.
I think the main thing is you're going to have a hub. Most cross-platform is just matchmaking, but if you have a hub where everybody can come and you've just got a code or something like that, regardless of what platform you're playing on, PlayStation, PC, or Xbox, you should be able to jump on there through that.
Yeah, and they said that they're going to be doing live services. So that's what that is. They're talking about live servers and services and connection, like managing servers. So, yeah, there should be a way to do it. How exactly that's going to look, we don't know yet, but it should be there.
Coy, I am wondering if the game will have the updated conferences. I think we've been discussing this. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they allow you to build your own conferences, and hopefully they don't let you have a cap on it, because I want a 24 team. I want to set my 2030 conferences and have that 24 Big Ten team playing.
Yeah, we are a realignment channel. If we're doing a league, we may or may not start with things as they are at the time. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah,
I messed up and said Manhattan, Kansas instead of Lawrence,
Lawrence,
Kansas. I apologize.
They were skewing you a little bit. You'll see.
I apologize. Look, come here, guys. Cut me a break. I get names wrong and facts wrong sometimes. It's fine. Do the Cornhuskers make a bowl game? Hell, if a 5-7 team can make the bowl game, I think the Cornhuskers have a chance.
I think that I'm a little worried that Rule is going to be successful with them, especially now in the age of NIL and transfer portal. There's a lot more capability and potential with Nebraska.
You think Raiola comes in right out of high school and wins that job and is successful?
I think he's going to give him the job. He has to. I mean, he's not in a position where he can be like telling them, you're going to have to wait a year. I don't think he can do that. But in terms of going big time in the first year, not the first year, but he's going to play a lot. So his second year, he's going to have that experience. We'll see if he's for real or not.
Don in Kansas wants to let me know they're in Lawrence, not Manhattan. Again, I apologize.
Kansas fans, they'll get you.
Yeah. Excuses.
I think we were talking about the SEC versus Big Ten. Well, hey, we're coming for you. That's why Big Ten's expanding.
Cleveland Rocks wants to let me know they play in Lawrence, not Manhattan. The Kansas State is in Manhattan. I apologize.
Chat
Jesus.
is on you. Cheers.
Killing me. Northwestern broke ground on their stadium.
Story.
Yes, they did. And that's an awesome looking stadium from the projections. As an Ohio State fan, I can't wait to pee on it. I'm going to pee all over that stadium.
It's going to be interesting when there's a day when Northwestern fans can at least arguably say they have the best stadium in the conference. They can't say the biggest. I mean, it's still not going to be big, but it could be quite a spectacle.
No, but at least it'll be blocked from the 70-mile-an-hour winds coming off of Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Remember that Ohio State game from 2 years ago where they were kicking it?
Turns into, it becomes frigid tundra right there.
Yeah, those 15-yard punts.
It's terrible.
Coach Prime will do a full house sellout at Arrowhead for KU.
Yeah. Not wrong.
I think maybe it'll be a sellout, but I don't think Colorado will do. I don't think they'll do bad this year, but I don't think they're going to win the Big 12. They're going to be competing for it, though. I think they will compete. Immaculate, you thought, boy, as much as I'm catching shit for the Lawrence, Kansas thing, you're catching shit for the Iowa thing. Immaculate, you thought the Vols would score more than 35 with their backup QB playing. Oh, no.
I mean, he's not really. That guy is going to be your starting quarterback. And for all we know, he was maybe told that he was going to start the bowl game anyways. And that's why the ex-Michigan guy got out of town because that guy is actually going to be a better quarterback than the one they had this year, in my opinion.
By the way, the other place KU is playing non-conference is at the home of Sporting KC MLS Soccer Club. Seats only 20, but it's a beautiful stadium. Well, hell, I don't know how much the stadium in Lawrence seats, but up until recently, they were having, I remember a couple years ago when they were playing Texas, they came and announced on the radio, anybody could come down for free. So, it's not about the GT of the ACC. You put that market in the big, and it's another thing completely. I will say Georgia Tech to that.
I agree. I think it's one of those where maybe nothing happens, maybe nothing comes of it. But if Georgia Tech wants to become something in the Big Ten, they're going to have a lot of potential and a lot of weapons in hand in order to do that. So I think they will.
Jamie says, I give Immaculate a hard time, but it's all fun. I think Big Ten has great football. They do. It's called Ohio State.
I mean, come on now. There is no better story in college football the past year than Iowa. Like, to go to a conference championship game with the absolute worst rated offense in the entire FBS. I get it. It's freaking ridiculous. We know. Look, Big Ten West guy, we know. Just we think it's funny and we don't care and it's ours and pooey. Who cares? But it's over, and it was a great last year for the Big Ten West. So I and quite frankly, defense is football. So maybe if people don't quite understand it and know it, that's fine.
It's 1/3 of football.
I do enjoy it myself.
And they have special teams. We got to give them credit. They have special teams as well.
They definitely love to go shopping in Australia for kickers. I'll give them that. They got one from the exact same town coming in.
It's their returners aren't bad either. Wonder how many players will opt out. I think he's saying that in regards to the EA CFB 25.
Probably just a few big names. They might. I think they end up relenting. They still want to see their name. They want to see that 99 rating. Yeah. They want it next to their name. And some of them are going to be like, "Oh, I deserve more than 500." You're right, you do. But it's not about that. This is more for all the regular guys that don't get the big, huge NIL deals. They're getting some money, getting seen, getting noticed. It's just a fun thing. So hopefully none do.
Lance, good to see you. I don't think I've seen you around here before. Welcome. How is Miami getting to the big when they're not even trying to get out of the ACC? LOL. Well, just because somebody's not vocal about something doesn't mean they're not considering it. It's like they always say, he was such a nice guy, you never would have thought he would have done something like that. You know, it's the quiet ones that'll get you, and I think Miami is the quiet one that's waiting in the shadows for Florida State to bust out of there, and then they're going to say, hey, we're leaving too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. And to me, I was pretty much saying, no, I don't believe in Miami until Greg had some things that he was saying. And I've tried to go against him a couple of times when I just didn't think it made sense. And in this one, he was pretty adamant about it. So there's definitely probably some talk there that they are being looked at. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think it's a market issue. I think they want to lock down North and South Florida. I think Virginia Tech would be a great ad for the Big 12. They have a great rivalry game with West Virginia already. I will put this out here. If it's Virginia Tech or Pitt, who you taking?
Virginia Tech. And I don't care if it's not just about that one rivalry game. It's about what they can be with everyone and what in terms of an ad. And just on their own, it's not even close. And, if it comes to West Virginia, yeah, they got a long-term rivalry with Pitt, but that could be a rivalry. I mean, as an Iowa guy, let me tell you, we did not have a rivalry with Nebraska before they came at all. And that was forced upon us. But now the two fan bases absolutely hate each other. So, hey, it worked. The same would happen with that. Virginia Tech and West Virginia could be a rivalry.
Yeah, I would say I would take Pitt just because of the market. It gets you into Pennsylvania. West Virginia, Virginia Tech kind of overlap each other. They do have a rivalry. I believe it's called the Black Diamond rivalry because they're both in coal country. But I would still put Pitt over Virginia Tech. Just my opinion. We got a super chat here from Ryan Willie. Says, wow, you won't have a chance to kick my butt in NCAA 25. I don't play online because of my disability. Well,
and that's
sorry
fair.
to hear that, Ryan, but
absolutely do not. And we'll have something for you to do with this, Ryan.
Yeah, Wild U doesn't play anyway, so Wild U won't be a part of this. He doesn't have a video game console. So, but we will do the realignment shuffle, so you can still do some stuff. We're not going to do exclusively online play by any means. So
yeah, it's the players and all that. I mean, especially if they're part of our community now. I mean, it's a big part of it, but it's more like providing something for us to have fun with here. Like when we get into the realignment side and things of that nature, and we'll be able to talk more on that once we get more details.
Yeah, and thank you again for the super chat.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
the macho man for you. Appreciate it, Ryan. I would love to see FSU and Georgia Tech go to the Big Ten as a pair. Georgia Tech. I think Immaculate feels the same way.
That is my preference, and that's just because Atlanta is just so much easier to get to than basically everywhere else in the South. Having a school there, in my opinion, for the Big Ten is a very big deal. It's surrounded by more land and more people and more schools, whereas Miami is surrounded on three sides by the ocean where nobody lives.
Yeah, just don't try to drive there. Watch Raiola be a bust. My prediction is Raiola will play at Nebraska 1 year and transfer. And I base that on the fact the kid has committed to, I think, 4 different schools at this point, and flipped his commitment. So, kid like that, you can't trust him. What do you think, Immaculate?
I think all of that's possible. It's almost the impossible thing to do is to predict these days what these kids are going to do. But what all you can do as a coach is put yourself in a position to win that. So, he got Raiola, he's got him, and now he's going to have a whole year to basically build a relationship with that kid. And if he's successful in doing that, then I give Nebraska the edge for sure. If he's not, then yeah, he'll probably be gone.
Iowa State versus Kansas at Arrowhead will be incredible. ISU fans will travel en masse for that
ISU
game.
fans travel. I give them that. They go down to that Memphis Bowl, Independence Bowl, every year. I remember one time I was driving down to Louisiana during that time, and all I kept seeing that I was going by and were coming by me were people with Iowa State fans in the windows. It was nuts. So they will. They're going to come down there for that game. I guarantee you.
I'm just going to trust your judgment on that. I don't know enough about Iowa State fans.
It's just because it's straight south from basically the heart of ISU territory. They're in central.
Oh,
Iowa.
I see what you're saying. People want to escape Iowa. I don't fault them.
But yeah, they just it's just a straight highway interstate shot from there down to Kansas. So it's pretty easy.
Jay Baller's letting me know the new stadium in Lawrence, Kansas, 40 to 45,000. Mr. Monkey says also reiterates that will create hot tickets for big games, and it will put them more in line with Big Ten stadiums.
And people want to go to the new hot show. It's going to be a new stadium. It's a new team, new coach. It won't be a new coach to them, but it's still kind of the whole thing kind of feels new.
Honeymoon period.
Kansas has never been relevant. So, I mean, they have been relevant, but not like this. This is a high time for Kansas football.
They were when Mark Mangino was coach there. You remember Mark Mangino?
I remember him, but I don't ever really remember Kansas as being as relevant as they are right now.
Guy looked like he could unhinge his jaw and eat a player.
He did make it up to the NFL as a coach.
Tony Lawson, Georgia Tech is not getting to the big. Yeah,
he's a big Clemson guy.
Tony Lawson doesn't want the Big Ten to get beyond 20. 20's plenty.
I mean, I get it. I get why you'd want Clemson. I mean, I don't know why you'd want Clemson coming to Minnesota and kicking your ass every week whenever they come there, but I mean, as a brand, I get it.
Tony Lawson, Gophers dominated Iowa. Expect the same this fall. Wow,
it's like once out of 8 years.
That's a loose interpretation of dominate, where it came down to the last play and you underline the rest.
Sketchy call, but it went your way. That's great. We gave you 1 out of 8 years, so congratulations. I know it means a lot. Just don't get too attached to that trophy because Brian Ferentz is gone. There we go.
Immaculate. Iowa scored 7 points from a field.
It was fantastic.
That is Iowa football, people.
Fantastic. I mean, you got to punt to win, baby. You got to punt to win.
Coy said, Immaculate, I made a reply to Paul right before this comment with Jamie. Your thoughts?
Ooh, did I miss that? You
may have missed that one.
You may have to ask someone again. I'm sorry, Coy. I want to be able to answer that. I just didn't quite see that conversation happening.
I love that. Why would Miami come to the Big Ten after Ohio State broke them?
Dan, you can always. That guy's an Ohio State fan. Let me tell you.
Let him cook.
Let me tell you.
It's 100% the truth because Miami
has not been
the same.
I'm not saying he's lying. I'm saying you can recognize when an Ohio State fan makes a comment about Ohio State. There's always that Ohio State perspective, and we love it in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Thank you, Clayton. I appreciate it. I haven't seen you around here before. Thanks for coming to the stream tonight.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Kimchi Pancake. Great name. Kimchi Pancake. Cincy, Louisville, West Virginia, Pitt, Virginia Tech equals the Appalachian division of the Big 12.
I like it. Yeah,
I
think
that's really not good. Appalachia, though.
No, maybe a different name, but they're there. They'd be part of that. Louisville, Cincy would be big. Louisville, Pitt would be big. I think Louisville, West Virginia is big. Virginia Tech. What if Pitt wasn't part of that and it was Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Louisville, and Cincy? Is it as good, or is Pitt kind of a vital connector to bring all of these together? What do you think? I mean, as a serious question, like honestly.
For me, I think you have to have Pitt. For me, it gives you Pennsylvania's market somewhat. Has natural built-in rivalry with West Virginia. It fits better to me than Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech and West Virginia overlap each other too much.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing that I could say why Pitt might be over VT, and we were just talking about in terms of West Virginia earlier, but Pitt absolutely has more history with Cincy and Louisville. And I know VT, they were all kind of together for a while, but I just feel like Pitt has a little bit more, closer geographic relevance to them, but also historic. So they might be the glue of that division. I don't know.
Well, nice thing is we'll see. We'll find out. Somebody's cards are going to get played here at some point. Movie time blues. Isn't the level of realignment really contraction in disguise? Expansion through contraction.
We call it consolidation, and to
That's
a
our
degree it
euphemism.
is. But you're also seeing schools that have come up from FCS to FBS. So as of yet, in the big picture, it really hasn't been. I know people are predicting that and expecting that. I'm not. I could be wrong. I just think I think the FCS and the FBS are going to be dividing, but there's going to be some more FCS schools that come up before that point, in my opinion. We'll see.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could go full on and call it contraction, but I get why someone could see that.
One man's raid is another man's talent acquisition.
Yeah, true.
If the NBA drops the G League, why doesn't the NBA work with the conferences and commissioners? The same in football with the NFL, work for a better product for all.
I 100% agree. I mean, college really is their the school for the NBA in terms of, training up guys to get there. Why not send people down to speak with some of those programs about, this would help if they learned this. And I mean, if you want to be a school that's saying we prepare players the best for the NBA, why not work with the NBA to come up with how to do that?
I don't disagree. Immaculate, could you imagine a Saturday weekend in Georgia with Georgia Tech versus Ohio State, USC, or Oregon with Georgia versus Bama or LSU? Good luck getting through traffic, man. It's bad enough as it is. I couldn't imagine a game like that.
Or and throw into that, like, if that's Florida State versus Michigan, Florida State versus, whomever coming down there. I mean, it's down on the south side of that, but Georgia's not exactly right there either. So there could be a whole lot of people coming down into that area for football. If you get, increased amounts of like Big Ten fans that are down in the area also coming to these games. Because I guarantee there's a lot of Big Ten folks in Atlanta that live there, and you just may not know it.
Northwestern's new stadium will be 35,000. Nebraska is cutting the number of seats also. I know why Nebraska's cutting seats. Because they want to maintain that sellout number that they've struggled, I think, the last 2 to 3 years to where there have been some times where they may not have hit it. I think they want to cut that to allow that to continue.
That could be part of it. But a lot of the reason why they're going down to smaller numbers in general, because this is a trend, and people think that they're, making it so that less people can watch. But what they're doing is they're going from the old school bench seating where they just cramped as many people in as possible to where now they're going with, single seats, a little more comfort based. So you can't have as many seats. You can't have as many people. So what you're saying could be true about Nebraska. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I think they're going to the new style of seating. So that's just naturally going to cut the numbers. And it's the same with Northwestern. They're not trying. I mean, they don't ever get 40,000 people. They get like 20, 25. So this is even playing for them to get more people to the games than they currently do. So while it might seem like they're cutting, they're not. They're just trying to increase their number.
Just wait till they bring out PSLs for college football stadiums. When you've got premium seating licenses, you have to own before.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and that's a real thing. In New York, you have to have a premium seating license before you can own a season ticket for anything. Cleveland Rocks, is there any news on the NCAA investigation of Michigan? Do the Wolverines get away with it and have no penalties? They don't get away with it. They're going to have penalties.
That's why people are getting out.
Yeah, that's
That's why they didn't hire another coach, because no one really wanted to come into that. I mean, people are like, oh, it's this guy. Well, yeah, he would coach there 4 games or whatever. The guys love him. There's a lot of reasons to have him, but if some big name coach wanted to come there, they would have hired him.
Yeah, by the way, off topic, but slam dunk hire from UCLA on James Forrester, their running
Think so?
backs coach. Yeah, I think he's a great coach. Those kids were excited to play for him. I think he's going to see some big things in the future from UCLA. They're not going to win the Big Ten or anything, but let's say, hey, 7, 8 wins will be more common than not. Jan Hulk, Big 12 could get Pitt, Louisville, North Carolina State, and Virginia Tech. I think we all agree.
Good 4.
Good 4. I just still see Syracuse and UConn in there somewhere. Moen and Immaculate, what's the likelihood the Big 12 mop takes UConn in the next round of realignment? I think it's high. That's me.
The next round would be the ACC schools. I personally don't think so yet. Now, if we're talking ever, like as in the future, I think the chances are high. I think at some point in time, the Big 12 will invite basketball schools. UConn probably won't have to give up football, but that's about the time when I think that they would come in. I've talked about a USF possibly filling a hole. That maybe a UConn could do it at that point in time. But I think at some point in time that they definitely would have some value.
All right, guys, we got about 15 minutes left here on the show. So I would invite everybody to get those questions, comments in. This is your guys' show. I know it says the Moen Show. Immaculate's a co-host. You guys are the bread and butter. So go ahead and hit us with questions, comments, anything. We'll throw them up on the screen and we'll give you our opinion on them. Let's see here. Big 12 adds Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Louisville, Pitt for
So much Georgia
Cincinnati
Tech.
and West Virginia. So much Georgia Tech. 15 minutes and that much left.
Jeez. Yeah, I think there are some people in the Big 12 that were looking seriously at Georgia Tech. They realize, there's going to be a struggle in the Big 12 to figure out who is going to dominate if that ever happens. I mean, do you want all these, other dominant teams to come in? But at the same time, Georgia Tech, man, in the Big 12, in Atlanta with Georgia recruiting, that Southeast recruiting, they could become a serious power in the Big 12, I think. So that's not a bad ad at all for the Big 12.
J Baller 54. That's what Kansas is doing with their new stadium in Lawrence. Immaculate going to chairbacks, I think.
But even then, they're still going to have 40-some K. So it's, when you take that in mind, that's a considerable stadium. I mean, if you were going down to that, it would probably be going from a 50 to 55K stadium down to that at 40 to 45K. So that's pretty considerable for them.
UVA, UNC, Clemson, KU to the SEC. There's not much left for big outside of Georgia Tech. I don't see Kansas ever going to the SEC. I think they've spent too much time making themselves an attractive candidate for the Big Ten to do that. What do you think?
I did not put much into the whole Kansas to the SEC thing, but it's kind of taken hold a little bit, enough for me to think that maybe the Big Ten should take that seriously. If the Big Ten ever has plans for them in the future, they may have to think about it sooner rather than later, because I can see the value. For me personally, I know we've actually had this conversation, and some of the guys don't agree, but I think the rivalry with Missouri helps make Missouri a better part of the SEC currently. The Kansas City market, which, you can look at the numbers and say where it fits with other markets, but that's a very active, very connected market to their local sports. So the numbers that they have are very good. There's a higher percentage grade of viewership coming out of there, in my opinion. So I think that it's possible for the SEC if Kansas would actually go for it. I mean, Kansas-Kentucky rivalry in basketball?
Could be. Mike Smith lets us know, hurry up, I have to pee.
I had to put that in there. Mike
I would
Smith.
just have to say, Mike, that's a compliment to me that you can't miss a drop of wisdom from us to go empty your bladder.
We still got at least 10 minutes, Mike. I hope you got it in you.
Pinch it off, brother. Pinch it off. If KU can't win the from Mr. Monkey says, if KU can't win the championship, I'll be rooting for Houston. I'll be rooting for West Virginia myself. Go Mountaineers. Who you be rooting for in the Big 12 this year? Immaculate.
Sun Devils.
Gotta
go for the locals. I mean, if I don't have one, I guess maybe a little bit. I kind of want to see Iowa State do well, but not. I don't want to see them like dominate or nothing. Just hold their own, so that way our game doesn't look like we beat a scrub.
Jan Hulk, do you guys think that with paying players and maybe missing that P3 money that some schools like Duke, UConn, Cal drop football?
Nah. Maybe, but nah. I'm not thinking so.
Yeah, I think there's too much tradition from that point to drop football.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible for that to happen, but not very likely.
I can tell you Kansas is to the SEC is real and would be a big mistake if you think they won't want that kind of cash the SEC provides. See what I did there? I appreciate that thought, Jamie, but I'm just letting you know Kansas has been vetted by the Big Ten multiple times. They've requested Big Ten admittance multiple times. I think if it came down to that, the Big Ten would tell Kansas to wait.
He thinks they make them wait. I'm saying it might drive them, say, if they don't have a for sure +1 for Florida State. Not saying anything against Miami, not saying anything against GT, but in a possibility, if it was meant to keep the SEC from grabbing them, I could see a chance. Possible chance Big would grab them sooner rather than later.
I think even Penn State has plans to downsize with more luxury seating. Seems like a common trend. With the prices you pay at Ohio State, they're all luxury seating.
Penn State has room to actually expand the size of their stadium. They haven't even really completed it and made a fully encompassing stadium yet. So, yeah, I could see them downsizing to luxury seating and in the future expanding it to get it to its full size.
Right. I'm going to the Don in Kansas. I'm going to the Kansas at Houston game on March 9th. That game is going to be crazy. Well, Cheers to you.
Yeah, people kind of dog Houston as an add to the conference, but to me, I think I was maybe, dare I say, the best add of all four. Gets them back into having that coverage in Texas, in Houston, and their basketball is for real.
Tony Lawson, fun fact, the Gophers are 7-48 all time versus Ohio State. Good grief.
Yeah. Welcome to the Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
I doubt Iowa's all that much better. Probably a little bit better, but
should have never let us into that Western Conference. Jamie Thornton, Kansas is one of the last places the SEC can expand its footprint, brings KU Missouri rivalry, great athletics, big state school with academics. I don't doubt the Big Ten wants them, but SEC has had talks, as has the Big Ten.
Yeah, I don't doubt
once
any
upon
of
a
that.
time, Kansas was a serious candidate against Maryland Rutgers. There was a movement by the Western schools to expand out west. So at one point, Kansas, Missouri was very seriously discussed. Missouri ruined that for Kansas. Don in Kansas, I'd hate to see Kansas leave the Big 12.
And I think that's awesome. Like for someone to look at the way things are in the college, sports world today, and to say that and to be like, to have that type of a connection with what the Big 12 has become as a fan, that's viable. And I think that that's pretty impressive on the Big 12's part that, a strong candidate that might be being looked at by both the Big Ten and the SEC, you'd have some of your fans saying, "Oh, we don't want to go." I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Tempest says, Tony Lawson, Big Ten wants Notre Dame. They will expand again. Yes, there will always be a spot for Notre Dame in the Big Ten. Yeah. There's always money in the banana stand.
Yeah. I think it'd be bad for the Big Ten, though, to add Florida State and Notre Dame at the same time. Those are two both big money ads. Those are two that you attach another school that you want to add to them. By taking both of them at the same time, if they were, that would, to me, would be a signal that there's going to be less expansion in the future than we thought.
Mr. Monkey says, "Oh my God, just another reason to hate Missouri." Yes,
And that is Missouri. That's how
Yeah.
we speak the word Missouri. It looks like misery.
Yeah. Urban legend has it that Jim Delaney was on the precipice of inviting Missouri and Kansas as numbers 13 and 14, and the Missouri president shot his mouth off to fundraisers, and Jim Delaney decided at that point that he was going east. It's a good position for Kansas to be in because there are not many schools left that both the Big Ten and SEC want you. That's true. It's a basketball brand. They are a blue blood basketball brand. That still has to count for something. It's not football money, but being a blue blood basketball brand, there's not many. I mean, UCLA, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas. I would argue for Michigan State, but I mean, Kentucky.
And you got to take into account things like rivalries. Them with Missouri matters, but also them with Nebraska actually matters now. Not so much in the past, but with them becoming a serious thing, they matter. And Kansas and Iowa, I mean, I'm just telling you, Kansas folks down here in Arizona, they're very similar kind of in mentality and who they are. So I could see them having some very strong votes in their favor within the Big Ten for schools that would want them. So I definitely think it's possible to either one of those.
Right. Let's see. Nebraska is downsizing Memorial Stadium with more luxury suites and chairback seating, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think it's to maintain that sellout record.
But it's also, you got to cater to your money people, man. They want something, but you want to get those big donations, not just for the athletic program, but for the school in general. Having those type of luxury suites helps in that regard a lot. Having chairback seating that they're going to like a little bit better. It's I hate to say it, I'm sorry, but it's for those people. That's why they're doing this.
J Bowler 54, as a KU fan, I want KU to stay put.
Sorry, I'm looking at someone's chat. There's another one. Like I think that is great, and to a degree, I'm like, then I hope Kansas does stay, and you guys get your way. We're not talking about this because it's like, well, you're just going to have to deal with it. Like, no, it's just, we see possibilities and we speak about them. But I think if Kansas people want to be in the Big 12, that's awesome.
Right. I would think Kansas goes big if they had a choice to align with their academic mission. I don't disagree. Yeah. Mike Smith, which is what we were all laughing at. I just pissed myself. Thanks, you big a-holes.
Sorry, Mike.
Listen, dude, if you can't pinch it off, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
We told you 10 minutes. You still got another minute and a half at least.
Yeah, you could have went. Dang, I would have just said, hey, screw these two guys. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to go.
Do appreciate like the attention to detail and sticking with us there, and the loyalty. Just good luck with the cleanup.
Jamie Thornton brings this up, just something to think about for the Big 12 fans. If the KU goes to the Big SEC, that opens up 5 spots for ACC schools for Brent Yormark. Something to think about.
It's been part of our discussions. She's not wrong. They would find a replacement for Kansas. No worries.
And then Tony Washington snaps back here with Kansas has been the worst Power 5 football program in the country over the last 25 years or longer. Kansas football is going to have some more success before the big comes calling. You need winners and losers in the conference, Tony. You know that.
I just think he's worried that Iowa might find another rivalry that they care about more than the Minnesota one.
I was going to say he might be worried that Kansas eclipses Minnesota.
Gotta give him trouble.
I've been to a bunch of stadiums and bleacher seats designed in the 1920s, and they are not kind to our larger folks these days. Well, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, they're from an age-old. I mean, it is time to change it. I kind of hope Iowa has some plan in the future for that, because there's a lot they could do with that stadium. I just don't know how much they really want to.
Jose thinks that Mike has the bladder of a hamster. LOL.
Oh, that's funny.
Great show tonight, guys. Don in Kansas. That's, we're
That-
going to wrap up on
That's
that.
the right there.
That's the one right there. Thank you
That
guys
is the
all for
2-hour
the
comment right there.
yeah, the super chats and the gifted memberships. We greatly appreciate that. This is your show, guys. We just want to put on an entertaining product for y'all. Be sure to follow us both on Twitter, which you can't see because I've got that comment up. Moen After Dark, Immaculate View. And then we will see you guys next Sunday, the next Big 12 Mafia, or Big West Mafia, excuse me.
Yep,
I screwed up the promo card there. Big West Mafia is tomorrow at 8 p.m. with Sergeant Pickles and Becky Go Huskies. And then Tuesday will be Big 12 Mafia show. Wednesday will be Big 12 Mafia show. And then on Friday will be Big Freaking Friday show. So we will see you guys across there. Everybody have a good evening. Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate you. Love you. Peace out.
There we go.